Hello, funky rollers. UFC 303. What a freaking mess. That whole card has been turned around, flipped upside down, and completely changed on us. But the good thing is, I think some of these fights are still going to be great. Jackson and I, of course, have gone over all of them, given our predictions, our picks, and given insight on all sorts of stuff. The metrics, what AI is thinking, what the good old internet is thinking, what our emotions are thinking. So tune in. Let me know who you have picked. Let me know who we got wrong and why we got it wrong. I'm interested to see your picks. I always like interacting when you guys come up to me at the gym or leave me a line. Just good old fashioned fight news. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy.
They try to drown me, I can swim upstream so profoundly. I can stay calm in a dire situation. I'm at it every day, no time for a vacation. And I smell blood in the water. Everything I do, yeah, I do it for my daughters. Now I'm gonna shut your lips. It's time for a brand new episode of what? We talking jit, say what? We talking jit, say what? We talking jit, say what? We talking jit, said it's time for a brand new episode of Talkin Jit.
And then I tell him, where are you going to put the pickles? I wish we had the soundboard. I wonder if I can download soundboards into this.
I'll throw a laugh track in there.
That's gonna be the next addition to these is soundboards, so you and I can really go ham. All right,
improv, the bits
right.
that we'll be able to conceive.
We're gonna pull in viewers somehow. We got the Fortnite soundboard. We got everything. Just gotta find our demographic here. Oh man. Well, Jackson, welcome back.
Welcome back.
UFC 303. The shit show. UFC 303. This has been a mess. And at the time of this recording is the Saudi Arabia. Is it Saudi Arabia UFC card?
Yeah, just finished.
The one that Hamzat got pulled off of and Robert Whitaker. And so we've been running into some turbulence here with these events. Not making it easy.
That's an understatement. It's been a nightmare month for the UFC. They also had that whole thing with their like PR team coming out and saying stuff about the unionization that like they got pulled into versus like Nevada State Athletic Commission, and like Dana was furious, and like they're still waiting to make like an official statement on it. It's the whole thing.
What's the drama behind that?
Just like fighters not getting paid and getting like the right like insurance and healthcare.
So
I wish I had more information, but I remember seeing it and I was like, damn, it's a nightmare for the UFC. And it happened the same week that like the official announcement that McGregor and Chandler was off.
Oh, they're trying to sweep it under the rug. That's
they're
like, that comes out and they're like, oh, what can we say? We got the McGregor bombshell drop. We got to do it this week.
We got to do it. We got it. Quick.
I wish I would have caught that memo. I would have researched it so we could get into that a little bit, But
I just remembered it as we were talking about it. So
hilarious. Maybe we'll cover it later. Before we get into this 303 card and we get into the main event, like we're talking about, I did want to do an honorable mention for the Cub Swanson Andre Fili fight because, in my opinion, that's got potential to be like one of the best cards of the night or one of the best fights of the night. I'm hearing a little bit of echo on your side still.
Noise.
Let me try to. All right, we're back from a technical difficulty.
Hopefully.
So yeah, I just wanted to mention this fight. I think this can be one of the best fights of the night. Cub Swanson is getting a little bit older. I understand that. And Andre Fili, I just feel like this is an interesting setup because Cub Swanson's I always thought had really good hands. He's really underrated hands. He's also a savage on the ground, good all around. And Andre Fili, I feel like, is kind of climbing the ladder again. He's kind of been showing glimpses of the hype that was behind him. And there's definitely potential for him to come out and prove, that he can take down a veteran. And I think if he does that, he gets to start moving up and get better challenges. And if Cub Swanson comes out and beats Andre Fili, then in my head, because I'm a big fan, it just solidifies his legendary. You know what I mean? He's legendary. So I'm just giving that like a shout out, probably because I'm a fanboy, but you know.
So, I mean, both these guys are 2-2 in their last 4 fights, so pretty even there. Cub Swanson, like you said, kind of one of those guys that name always gets brought up, and like sleeper best pick, best fighter. You know, who's your favorite best fighter that not everybody talks about? I feel like a lot of people would say Cub Swanson, because there was a little bit where he was a dog. He has several fight of the nights, performance of the nights. He 13-3 knockout. He's only ever been knocked out 3 times. 13 wins by knockout. Decision 12 times. Only ever lost a decision 3 times. So if it's going to a decision, he's probably winning that decision. If it's going to a finish, he's probably winning that finish. He has been submitted more times than he's submitted other people, so maybe that's his area of improvement. Especially because I know that now he's in bantamweight, fighting at bantam. So we'll see how that goes in his bantamweight fights. He's 1-1 in bantamweight. Lost to 1-0 in bantamweight. He only went to bantamweight once, lost to Jonathan Martinez, came back to featherweight and beat Hakeem Dawodu. So now he'll be fighting at featherweight against Andre Fili.
Right, and I think just both these guys have the potential for like what I like about them is they're kind of like hit or miss. Like, you know, they show up, but like these fights are usually finishes, you know.
Right.
I don't feel like
these guys are finishers.
Yeah, I don't think this can be a decision fight. Andre Fili has 10 wins by knockout and 8 first-round finishes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of excited to see the hands go. I've always been a fan of Cub Swanson's hands for some reason, so I just feel like this might be a good stand-up battle. And if it goes to the ground, Andre Fili got a pretty good he's pretty good at scrambling, and Cub Swanson has good ground game as well. So I just think this is going to be an active, you know, fun fight to watch. So I just brought up. Plus, you can't even count how many tattoos are on this fight. So
yeah, it's a battle of ink. Blood and ink will spill.
The loser gets a tattoo, and the winner also gets a tattoo. So,
yeah,
with their paycheck.
There you go. The fight money, the show money.
Yeah, the show money. You can talk it out at the tattoo shop.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay.
So, where are we going from here, man? We going straight into it?
Yeah, just the main card. Starting at the bottom, we're going to the top.
Let's go.
But we kind of have to talk about this card as a whole, right? Kind of like we mentioned, it being a little bit of a nightmare. Just for an example, basically since mid-May, this fight has been, or end of May, this fight main event being McGregor Chandler, what used to be McGregor Chandler, was up in the air because the presser got canceled out of nowhere, like literally like a few hours before it was set to happen. And they were like, okay, well, what's going on? And then the UFC was super vague about it. Conor McGregor's PR team tweeted something super vague about it. Chandler, though, must have never got the memo. And he was like, yeah, man, this fight's still happening. It's going to happen. I promise it's going to happen. There was like a picture of this guy on Reddit that ran into him at an airport. And he was like, I asked Chandler if the fight's still happening. He said it's still on. So, you know, our on-the-ground reporters in r/MMA are letting us down. And now we come to find out that on June 13th, it was announced that McGregor was injured and the pairing would be postponed. So now we come into UFC 303 with a completely different co-main, a completely different main event, and the rest of the card has also just been, there's a couple other random changes, but the big ones, we'll get that too, but that's just a little foreshadowing for what we're going to discuss.
And just to add on top of that, this event, the cheapest tickets when McGregor was the main event were $1,500. The front row was $10,000. The minute it started getting dicey, those tickets went from $1,500 to $3, and I think the front row went down to $5,000, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like I know it went from
something like that.
So just the fact that it got turbulent dropped ticket prices dramatically.
Yes,
and I know some people probably took the risk and bought those $300 tickets, and are now going to go see a completely different card. So hopefully you're just a UFC fan if you're showing up.
Yeah. Honestly, you might get a better main event than so.
Yeah, who do you think would have won if we had to pick?
Between McGregor and Chandler, I think I want to say that recency bias says Chandler. But you can't count out McGregor. I mean, it's hard, but recency bias says Chandler. He's fought more recently. He seemed to be in a little bit better shape than McGregor, not especially because he wasn't coming off of a split in half leg. So that's doctor stoppage or whatever. But Chandler, I think, might have had a better chance of beating McGregor than people are giving him. People just like to dick ride McGregor. So
You want to get my outlook on it?
I'd love to.
So I was a little bit, this is where my head was going back and forth. McGregor has historically done really well against like people like Chandler, Chad Mendez, little juggernaut wrestlers, short. He can throw those kicks, those spinning back kicks. He can aim for the body. He's punching downward. So that kind of made me lean towards McGregor. Chandler's got kind of like this style that McGregor does very well against. He stands very sideways if you see his legs, and that's kind of open up to kicks as well. So I was worried about Chandler getting hit in the body a lot and getting taken down by body shots and then slowing down as well. And then I started thinking, I'm like, but Chandler has fought with like people who I think would fuck McGregor up. Like,
That's a fair way to put that.
yeah, like what's his name? Riding his way back to the top now. Oliveira. That was a close fight. Justin Gaethje, like everyone in the division, the top dogs, Chandler has just thrown down, bite down on the mouthpiece and go. And he's had his moments in every fight. So he's a very exciting fighter. And McGregor, to me, slows down as the fight goes on. So I started thinking, Chandler also better shape. He's not poisoning his body. He's stayed super focused. McGregor is selling the fights like he sells the fights, but I was leaning towards Chandler by the end of it,
And I think that it also has to do with just one of those, again, father time undefeated. Both these guys are, on the older side of the MMA age bracket now, but I still think that recency bias probably favors Chandler as well.
Yeah. Well, there's that. We'll never know.
We'll never know. Maybe. Who knows if his toe heals? Whatever.
Yeah. I think something else went on.
So do I.
I'm going down the conspiracy theory lane again.
Me too.
You know me, always biting on those.
Yeah, you gotta. Speaking of conspiracy theories, Ian Machado Garry versus Michael Page. Ian Machado Garry pulling out of his last fight because he got revealed to be a cuck. No, just kidding. Apparently he was really sick. So let's talk about this exciting karateka matchup.
I'm not excited about this fight at all.
Really?
Not excited at all. I think this is going to be boring. I think this is going to be like a jousting back and forth, keep the distance, land one punch fight. That's just how I see it. I hope I'm wrong on this, but I just think it's going to be hop, hop, teep kick, hop, hop, long jab, hop, hop, get back in the middle of the ring. That's how I see it.
I see what you mean. I understand where that would make total sense, especially for both of these guys' fighting style. And with Ian Garry wanting to keep his record flat and perfect, I don't see him doing anything fancy, especially against Michael Page, who we just saw fight another kind of, I don't want to call him a point fighter kind of guy, but when Kevin Holland wants to point fight, he will point fight and he will win. So we see, what Michael Page did to someone that can do that. And now Ian Garry knows that he can't go in there and be too fancy, but he also can't point fight. So he's going to have to be kind of in this new headspace for this fight against probably one of the most exciting, variety strikers in MMA since his time in Bellator, and now in the UFC for his second fight, Michael Page.
And I'm going to sound super negative and give it to me. Give me all the hate, but
do it.
I feel like these both guys go in flashy. They want to do the showman, thing.
Yeah.
And I can just see like a whole lot of hand gestures, a whole lot of, get the crowd. So my brain for this one is just dead set on it being boring. And I just hope I'm right. I hope I'm not right. I hope I'm wrong.
Hope you're wrong.
Hope I'm right.
I hope I'm right. And I hope
ego.
Right.
Now that I said it, I kind of hope it's right. But no, I think it's like you said. I think it's going to be a point fight. I don't think Ian Garry's going to come out and do any spinning tornado kicks. I don't know if he's got what it takes to drop Michael Venom Page. Has Michael Venom Page been knocked out? I don't know.
He was knocked out
Oh,
by Douglas Lima
okay.
in 2019 in the second round.
Okay. Still, I'm going to stick with that. I think it's going to be a point fight. I almost want to lean towards P. They both got like this. MVP's got a 79-inch reach. Ian Garry's got a 74.5-inch reach, so that's a pretty massive reach difference. Their leg reach is the exact same. So I kind of see Michael Venom Page staying on the outside. I think Ian Garry's last fight, he did a horrible job at keeping the fight where he wanted it. I felt like he was kind of my bad. I'm sorry. I feel like he kept the fight where he wanted it. Like that's all he did. I think he kept putting Geoff Neal against the cage and just kind of keeping that guy's back towards the cage. And for some reason, that guy just fought with his back on the cage the whole time.
That was a split decision, though, so Ian Garry has to be careful with that style again.
Yeah, and that's how I kind of see it. I think Michael Venom Page is much better at controlling the center of the octagon. And I just see him. He's a hard guy to train for, let alone when he has that much of a reach advantage. Ian Garry is actually the favorite, but I'm going to lean P. And
Yeah, I mean,
just pray the next fight for MVP is going to be better.
I fully agree with you here. The stat that I always like to bring up is father time. So father time here, 11-year age difference. Ian Garry, it looks like a child age-wise compared to Michael Page, and especially with how active Michael Page has been throughout his career. He fought 3 times last year, 1 time this year. He's not someone that just sits around and waits for the money fight. He does take fights and he does look to be exciting, just because he likes it and he thinks it's fun. But like you said, hard guy to train for. Garry point fought his way to a split decision versus Geoff Neal. I also am leaning with Michael Page, also just because I want to see what happens if Michael Page gets his way to the title shot and fights Leon Edwards.
And I don't think Dana brought him in for no reason.
No shot.
We know he likes his marketing guys. And right here is kind of a win-win for Dana. If Ian Garry wins, then he's just going to keep marketing the bad guy, which is going to sell tickets, as we know. Everyone's going to want to watch that guy get his ass beat. And if MVP wins, then they're going to market the hell out of him. And can he get a UFC championship belt, Yep. So this fight is a win-win for Dana. I hope MVP just lands one of them crazy shots, some knees or a spinning kick or something, and just drops him. And that's probably the most exciting I could see that fight getting.
Okay, I like that. I definitely hope that we see Michael Page knock out Ian Garry as well. Take that 0. He doesn't deserve it.
Now that I knocked the negativity out of my system, the next fight, Mayra, Bueno Silva versus Macy. You know what it is. Chiasson.
Chiasson.
I think it's
Chiasson.
I like this kind of stuff when it's like 10-3. Mayra Bueno Silva, she's going off a loss, where Macy's coming off a win. Dude, there's like a 5-inch height difference, and there is sorry, my math is off right now. Like a 5.5-inch reach difference with the hands, and like a 3-inch leg reach. If this thing's gonna stand up, it's kind of looking like old Macy's got the advantage there. But Mayra Bueno Silva has more significant strikes per fight, a higher percentage of that. She's got a 53% defense, which is higher than Macy. And she actually absorbs more punches per minute. So this is like a really janky fight to me. The odds are actually favoring Mayra Bueno Silva, which is wild because she's coming off a loss while Macy's actually coming off a win. So between these ladies, everything's looking like all the stats, the statistics are all looking very similar, except for Vegas. Vegas decides that Mayra Bueno Silva is going to be the favorite.
So I think that this one's going to be interesting to see because Mayra Bueno Silva actually lost twice. I know the one fight got ruled, sorry, she won twice, but the first fight she was in July of last year was ruled a no contest because when she choked out Holly Holm, she pissed hot and got popped for taking roids. So now she's back again, after taking her time off last year. So she, known user, so PED popper. So maybe that's where the favorite the odds favorites coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Betting on the medical advantage, but Macy coming off of a win, off of a loss to the current champion in that division, not Irene Aldana. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Disregard. Coming off a loss to Irene, and then fighting Pani, who I'm not familiar with, but got a performance of the night there. So I know Bueno Silva lost for the Vankit belt back in January of this year to Raquel. So I think maybe that's where the favoritism coming from, is just because she has fought for the belt most recently, and before her 2 no contest and loss, she did have 3 wins, where Macy seems to have been win trading more recently in her her fights. 2 and 2 in her last 4, and then 6, or 4 and 2 in her last 6. So she does seem to win. Decision hunter. It doesn't look like she really finishes. She got 2 finishes, and they were both losses. And then her most recent fight was a finish and a win to Pani. I wish I had more information on this fight so I could give a better opinion other than looking at stats and numbers. I feel like a baseball announcer. But I'd like to see Macy head up to top of the rankings possibly, and maybe get her shot at the title against Raquel. So
You're still doing better than Cormier. 2 shots fired. No, I'm just kidding. Throwing that joke
DC,
out
come on the podcast.
I will say that I found something else to add to that. Mayra Bueno Silva has 7 first-round finishes and 7 finishes by submission. I know Macy she's actually pretty tough. I remember seeing her. A lot of those fights that have gone to decision are actually fights where she hung in there pretty well.
Gotcha.
Like she seemed like she's a little bit hard to finish, and she doesn't go easy. But I think I agree with you. Having a shot at the belt, fighting people like Holly Holm and Raquel Pennington, I feel like that's a pretty high caliber to test yourself against. And still, out of 10 of your wins, 7 of them are first round finishes. That's pretty impressive. So I think that's where Vegas is deciding it. Other than that, I'm kind of with you. I'm gonna bet on Mayra Bueno Silva just based on that fact. She seems like she's got more of like the kill, and I think also coming off of losing for a belt, your mentality is a little bit more like I got to get back in there. I'm sure if I recall that fight with Raquel, I think if you go in there and you're fighting the champ and you lose, you're probably going to do one of 2 things. You're probably going to go back and be like, I could have won, and now you're pissed, and you're going to go train hard and come back and win it. Or you're going to go home and pout and then just kind of hang out and be a journeyman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like Bueno Silva, she seemed like she was pissed, and she seems like the type to go earn her shit back, So
let's see her do that. So we're going for Mayra. I went for Macy just because I want to see some new blood going for the belt. So let's do it, man. Let's see what happens there.
Voting with your heart right now, huh?
Voting with my pure guesses.
Yeah. I didn't have too much on that one. Sorry, ladies. And then Lionheart. Can never count him out, bro. Because every time I do, he shows up.
And here we go. This is the first fight on this card that we could talk about having significant changes. So this fight was originally Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree.
Yeah.
So as the fight goes on, injuries keep happening to guys. This is just a cursed matchup on this line, and now we're down to Anthony Smith and Roman Dolidze. So Roundtree withdrew after getting DHEA and contacting the anti-doping president and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna piss hot, so I just want to come clean about it." Blah blah blah. Then he got suspended for 2 months. So then he got replaced by Olberg, and then Hill had to pull out because of an injury. He got replaced by Anthony Smith, and now Olberg had to pull out. So now Dolidze came in, and I think that was literally just a few days ago that happened. So
yeah, because they've got the weights here as 205 and 186.
Yeah,
they've got them under 2 weight classes on the UFC website. If I pull it up.
So I think Dolidze is going to be the one that's just going to fight at his walking weight. Because I would assume he's cutting from about 210 to 180 or about 2 to 180. Cutting like 20, 30 pounds at that size is not the worst, not the hardest. So I think they can do that. But I think he'll be fighting closer to his walking weight. So like, who knows? Maybe he does really good at this weight class, and he's like, let me try that again. So, but Anthony Smith, always one of those guys, always active fighter, and he's active in the booth, company man, as they say. Does anything for Dana and Hunter, whether that be fight or hop in the booth and have a conversation with the broadcast team. So excited to see how this one goes, honestly. It's such a random fight, and it could be exciting.
Yeah, and you got to think about it too, with shuffling the cards like that. Neither one prepared for either or.
Right.
Like, these are two dudes who were just probably active in the gym and got a call, and it's like, I'll go fight. So it's always interesting when you think of that dynamic, because it's not like Anthony Smith sat down for 6 months and planned to fight this guy. Right. And Roman didn't sit down for 6 months for Anthony. So they're going in there purely with their skills and what they train on a daily basis and what they've been working on lately. And they're going to apply them against each other. And that's going to be kind of cool. You know what I mean? Off the cuff. So you're going to see probably some things each other weren't expecting. Let me see who the odds are, man. Because I know I'm always over here giving the stats and the body compositions. There's no money line on it yet. That's crazy.
No money line on it yet. Wow.
Not on this site. Let me check another site real quick. Hang tight, folks. No, not on there either. So there's no betting line as of right now on either the UFC or the ESPN website. It's kind of tough to to judge where this fight's gonna go. I bet it's gonna be a standing match. Anthony Smith will stand up. It's very rare he goes for takedowns, in my opinion. He goes for them when he's in trouble or when he's got to win the round. But I feel like it's not like he's like a takedown first guy. I feel like you normally see this guy pull takedowns when it's like, hey, I got to get some points this round. Like, he's smart. He's kind of, you know what I mean? He plays the game when he fights.
Actually, is like low key a submission guy. Like, his jiu-jitsu is really solid.
Is it?
He has in his last 5 wins, 3 of them come from submission.
So did I have that backwards?
I don't think you do. I think you're right about takedowns, because submissions don't technically count as takedowns.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're right in that maybe he's not a takedown first guy. I mean, the submissions he's getting are submissions you get when someone goes for a takedown on you. A triangle choke, a rear naked choke, he has to get the back there, but then the guillotine is straight off of someone shooting a takedown on you and you defending and getting the guillotine. So I mean, his last fight was just a little over a month ago over Vitor, and he got a submission, not Vitor Belfort, Vitor Petrino. He got a guillotine in the first round in 2 minutes. So Anthony Smith can still win. He's very well rounded. Yeah.
See, that's what I'm not right. I thought I was tripping for a second, because I'm like, I know he goes for takedowns, but I never really seen his game plan be like, get him on the ground and pound, go for submission. So you're probably like, he's probably more counter fighting or taking advantage of the situations. Sometimes those rear naked chokes are just stuck against the cage and you cut the corner and you get that back,
That's true.
So I got to roll with Anthony Smith, because if I don't roll with him, he's going to win anyway. That's how it always goes with him.
Yeah, I think I'm with you as well. I like Anthony Smith. I like his personality a lot. He's a super funny guy. Listening to him talk and stuff, he seems like a really, really nice guy. And he wins in various ways. So he has 20 knockouts, 15 submissions, and only 3 decisions. So he's a finisher.
Yeah.
And we like to see that. So
of course,
I'd love to train with Anthony Smith. I still feel like he seems like a great guy.
Homeboy's got the dad bod, a little bit of the dad bod. You always got to root for that, man.
He does.
Me being a father myself,
Yeah.
Anthony Smith, bro. Cheers on that. Respect.
Cheers, bro.
So, you know how earlier I was talking about Cub Swanson and Andre Fili being one of the best fights on the undercards?
Yeah.
I'm excited for this Brian Ortega and Diego Lopez, bro. Like, this one has me going bonkers. And Diego is the favorite.
Yes.
How? Brian Ortega just beat Yair Rodriguez. He's like, Brian Ortega is such a hard road, bro. He has fought the best of the best. Another one of them guys who has hung and always had a chance in every fight he's been in, just about. Just about. Like, when he fought Volk, you could never count him out that fight. And every time you did, he like showed you why you don't fucking count him out, and he's not a quitter. And it's just crazy how he's ranked number 3 in the featherweight division, and Diego Lopez is got the odds. It's like I think it's great. I'm a huge fan of both these guys, dude. Diego Lopez has looked so good lately. I've been rooting for this guy for a minute, like ever since I watched him fight. Man, now I can't even think of his name on the cup. Hold on, I got you here.
Sabatini?
No, the one before that.
Gavin Tucker?
Evolov. Ever since the Evolov fight. So even further back than that, when I watched him fight the Evolov fight, I was like, man, this guy looks like he's gonna be good, bro. And I'm pretty sure I picked him last time, right?
You did pick him over Super Sodic. So, and I was wrong because I was all gung ho for Super Sodic, and I lost that.
Hey,
fair and square.
Don't feel bad. Everyone I talked to picked Yusuf, Sadiq. But I mean, talk about a finisher. The guy's got 15 first-round finishes. 12 of them are by submission. And he also has 10 wins by knockout. So this guy is dangerous, man. And
very.
So, which is all fair, and that might be why he's got a 3.5-inch reach advantage, which is still a pretty big advantage. He's 5'11", whereas Brian Ortega is 5'8". Brian Ortega, dude, 16-3 versus Diego Lopez, who's 24-6. I mean, the records are. This is a pretty good matchup. He's got Diego Lopez with the KOs. I think maybe gives him the edge because I don't think Brian Ortega is as much of a KO guy. But geez, man, like, where do you go with this, Jackson? What's your outlook?
Look, I made a mistake last time, and I bet against Diego Lopez. So I feel like I'm attacking him if I go against him again. But I don't really have anything that's telling me to say him or Brian Ortega. I love Brian Ortega. I mean, his win against Yair was awesome. He dog walked Yair and then submitted him just to cement that.
Such a sick fight.
It was awesome, and that was, in the first fight that they had, Ortega had to pull out of it in the first round because his shoulder dislocated.
Yeah,
something was wrong with his shoulder. So him coming back, 2 years later and fighting him and getting a very dominant victory and a submission to seal it was like, wow, like this guy's a dog. And like that been known even when he lost to Volk, but that just showed that Volk is just a different breed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like hard to say.
No one else would have got out of that guillotine, dude. No one else.
That triangle, no shot.
The triangle.
That triangle where Volk was turning blue. Yeah, nobody.
That's 2 finishes in that fight that I don't think a normal human, 99% would get out of. It's insane how Volk got out.
I've tapped to a fourth of that pressure, if that. And that's me doing my hardest in the training room.
and just like I said, that Yair fight, like to your point as well, like you given understanding the background of that fight while watching that fight just made it such a sick fight. I mean, and for the people who don't know, Brian Ortega dislocates his arm in the first fight, and loses, obviously. Like, it was weird. It was like a freak fluke kind of thing. He's holding his arm, and it's kind of like, oh, shit. Then Yair goes from Brian Ortega to all the way up to fighting for the title. He doesn't slow down. I mean, Yair picked up momentum. T-City comes back after all this stuff to fight Yair at a dangerous, I mean, Yair at this point lost to Volk, but like, dude's still dangerous and still showing that he's like belongs at the top and is scary. And just to watch Ortega, just how he handled that fight was like fucking amazing.
It was really cool. Huge victory for Ortega.
This one is so hard for me to call, and it's weird. They got their weight. They got Brian at 146 and Diego at 157. Is this like another sub in? Is that what it is?
No, this was just a last minute added fight. This fight was not added until I have the list of all the fights pulled up because of all the shenanigans that happened with this.
That's what I got. I've got like different websites because they're all giving me different information. That's how much of a mess this card is. So I've got them on ESPN as 146, both of them. So it's a featherweight bout.
Yeah, I don't think they announced this fight until the day they announced the Chandler and McGregor fight was over. It was kind of a last minute addition here.
I guess the
Um,
question for this fight is like, do you think Ortega can tough out Diego Lopez and get a submission? I don't know if Diego has gone against a submission specialist like Brian Ortega, man. You know?
at least in the UFC, it's hard when he's only been in like he has a lot of fights on his record, but most of it was in under leagues. Still pro, but not leagues with recognizable names. He he's never been submitted. He's never Both of these guys have never been submitted.
Right.
So I mean that'd be interesting to see like a technical jiu-jitsu matchup. So I mean against two guys that love to finish but can't finish. So who knows, man? Like this could be.
I give Diego the edge with the hands, even though T
Yeah.
City has really good hands too. I give Diego the edge, but like on the ground, I almost could feel like Brian Ortega is crafty enough to get anybody.
I agree. His jiu-jitsu is super slick. I mean, it's just that style that he's developed under, and that team he's developed with. His jiu-jitsu is so crisp and so
Gracie
so
in the corner, so
yeah, so unique, and like he has such like a great MMA mindset for jiu-jitsu. And I think I mean Diego Lopez is in a great camp right now too. He's in Alexa Grasso's camp, and she's the current champ. So he was on this season of Tough, which I've only seen clips of. He's in their training room, training with all those guys to get them ready for making that step under Alexa Grasso's coaching. So, I mean, now we have him going up against Brian Ortega, who's fought for the belt, I want to say multiple times. Yeah, he has fought for it multiple times. And this is, in my head, this is a big, hey, if you beat him, you don't know when your next fight might be. It might be for a strap.
Brian being number 3 in the division, beating him, I mean, that puts you at least number 3.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
So,
I know.
Huge ups for this fight, man. I mean, I would never turn down watching Ortega fight for a belt. Ortega is always fun for me to watch, and I think Diego Lopez has got the juice, man.
The juice is loose, man.
I feel guilty because I'm kind of leaning towards Diego.
Yeah. Hey, well, you went with him last time.
Yeah, and I just feel like I'm backstabbing Brian Ortega because like I always root for him, you know. But
Right.
my gut is telling me Diego Lopez, and I think it's going to be a decision.
Let's think about it this way. If you had to fight one of them, who would you rather fight least?
Who would I want to fight the least?
Yes. Who do you think you have a better shot at beating? Therefore, who do you think you would rather fight least? Like, who do you think is going to beat your ass?
Both.
Like, more. Okay, right. But, like, more.
Like, I don't know. I feel like Ortega would get me before I could get him down. Like, his jiu-jitsu is that good, and his hands are that good. If I fought both these guys, I'm going to get pieced up. So, I'm just going to tap. No, I'm not going to tap.
Walk in the octagon, you're just like, all right, it's over.
I'd probably fight Ortega because he put me to sleep, and then you just wake up feeling like you got some rest. Whereas I feel like Diego would make me grind to get him down, and he might knock me out, and then I wake up with a headache. That would be my reasoning. I'm not going to try to be fake on here. That they would both destroy me.
Yeah,
I would love to compete in jiu-jitsu against them.
Yeah,
but I think I would get seriously worn out trying to get them to the ground in an MMA fight for sure.
Yeah.
I got
so where's your head at? What are you leaning to?
I'm leaning towards Diego.
Leaning towards Diego. I think I'm with you, man. I went against him last time and I was super wrong. So I want to see him get a victory again and prove me wrong again. So I'm picking him because I want to make sure that I'm right.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind being wrong. I don't like either one who wins this fight. I'm happy for.
Yeah.
The dude just always
looks
hope
like they have fun out there.
Yeah. Look at that smile, bro. He just always looks like he's happy. Diego Lopez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. And then the main event. If you're gonna pull a main event out of nowhere, I guess this is one. You know.
This is the main event you have waiting, just in case you need it. It's your get out of jail free card. I don't think there's an MMA fan who would dislike this. Alex Pereira, and you know, I saw this in a bunch of MMA subreddits, might be the greatest signing the UFC has ever made because he has bailed them out of so many shit situations already in his only 2 years of being with the company.
Let's talk about that for a second, actually, because not only are you right, and not only is that across many divisions, like it's not even just like in his division, it's just like wherever they ask him to fight, he's like, I'll be there, I'll be on weight, and he is. But we're at a point right now where there's a lot of guys who are just on call. Doesn't it seem like that? I feel like
Yes.
Johnny Walker's on call, Kevin Holland's on call, Alex Pereira's on call. Like they've got their like on call yes list. You know, who else am I missing? I feel like there's like a handful of guys we see every other card because they're just like, yep, I'll take it. You know, they don't care who they fight, when they fight. We learned that at UFC 300. When or no, not even UFC 300. The UFC with Volk and Islam. How that card got all funked around, and Dana White was like, every one of these guys that I called said, I'll fight anybody at any time. I'm the best, and that was for like 3 different matches that he had. So that was like 6 fighters he had to call that had to agree, and he made a really good point. He's like, these guys, I call them, they're always ready to go. They never tell me no. That's his big thing about Conor McGregor as well, you know. So that's one thing. That's 2 different mindsets right there. Like there's guys who get the call and they prepare for their fight and they're just like, you know, they want their one objective and they go for it. And then there's guys who are always ready, you know. They look at themselves as champions, they look at themselves as a warrior, and they're always in shape. They don't slack when they don't have a fight lined up. They're not out eating chicken wings and pizza. They're fucking like they're training like they're getting a fight tomorrow, you know?
Yeah, they're training like they got a belt on the line.
And shout out for that. And I think Yuri's another guy who took a short notice fight just recently, right? Within his past few fights, I think he took a short notice.
I definitely think so. I mean, look, these guys fought once before, and I mean, Pereira beat him like pretty decisively, but dogs.
Against Glover, right? Like that Glover fight was like a kind of, hey, the belt's vacant, we need a guy, let's throw you 2 at it, you know, type of deal. Yep. So shout out to that kind of warrior mindset, man.
Right.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, both these guys are warriors, you know, the samurai versus the, you know, indigenous, you know, native, like hunter warrior.
Aztec.
Yeah, Aztec guy, like, it's so sick. Like, this is like, there's a show back in the day called like Deadliest Warrior. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
These 2 guys right here they have an episode about that shit, you know?
Is that where they pick like an Apache versus like
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
The one that always sticks out in my head was like Pol Pot versus the Mayan Empire. I'm like, what? This is such a random like two poles. It was like Genghis Khan versus William the Conqueror. It's like, okay, that's what this shit is. Like,
let's unpack that.
Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka.
we got it now, you know.
Yeah.
After the fight, you give one a bow and arrow, and you give the one the sword, and see who wins. You know. Yeah. I wonder if Yuri knows how to handle the sword, or if he's just on him.
Oh,
you think that guy?
He always posts videos and stuff of him doing it, man.
Does he?
Yeah. He has videos of him being like,
okay.
You know?
Practice what he preaches. I like it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I've never looked at him outside of like the fights. I've just watched like the UFC embeddeds and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's a weird guy. He like goes into the woods and just starts like screaming and like chopping trees and like in the middle of Poland or Czech, where I think he's from Czech, in the middle of Czech, just doing his thing. It's like, all right, well.
You think he just saw like a cool samurai movie when he was a kid and he's like, that's it.
So I think
everything I can.
The lore is that he read the Book of 5 Rings and modeled his life after that.
Oh yeah.
So the Book of the 5 Rings is the code of the samurai that Miyamoto Musashi wrote about his life and his ideas as a samurai and his way of as a samurai. So Yuri read that and was like, "This is me. This is literally me." He read the book and was like, "This is literally me." So then he's kind of made this whole thing and
to the moon.
He was a champ. You know, he won the belt. So shit. Who's to say he's not? You know?
Right. Yeah. And their last fight, dude, it was a good fight. I mean, I just watched it recently, and it was like a little bit of feeling out in the beginning. I was surprised about how much Yuri was lunging forward hands down. He's kind of got this weird like it almost feels like he's completely open with his arms out, and the way he lunges, it almost seems like his face is open, but his arms are so long they extend like crazy. Like it's just like with he at that fight, man. If you remember, he was tagging Pereira and then just caught one of them short little hooks that didn't look like anything.
Just an elbow,
and it just dropped him. Just dropped him, and it's kind of like. I kind of wish that fight went. I actually don't kind of. I wish that fight would have went a few more rounds because I wanted to see it get good. You know, I wanted to see the shots add up. I wanted to see who the real warrior was. And that being said, I just clicked on Yuri, dude. He's got 23 first round finishes. It's a lot. That's more than most people's career.
Yes,
like,
he does.
How many fights people have in their whole career? He's got finishes in the first round. 26 wins by knockout. 3 wins by submission. So homie's got 30 fights. And if my math is right, 29 of them are finishes.
Yeah. It's insane. I think 29 are finishes out of 30 wins, which is fucking crazy. It's weird though because like you look at like I froze because I'm reading, but like you look at Pereira and it's like his record looks so small, but he was in glory for like 10 years.
Fun fact: he's got 100% takedown accuracy. One attempt, one land.
That shit counts.
Bag it up.
It's like
go.
It's like baseball. Everybody likes to look at stats. There's only one stat that matters in the game, and that's runs. So it's like.
GSP who? My dog's got 100%. Never try for a takedown again. I want him to retire with 100%. That would be so great.
Yes, that's awesome.
But everyone knows how dangerous this dude is. And, dude, arguably the most gangster moment in UFC history, other than the 10-second point in the middle of the ring. That's obviously going to be one of the top contenders. But in the same exact night, am I right? When Pereira tells Herb Dean no, and then knocks the dude out.
Yep.
Those 2 moments, man. Great moments in UFC history. That was epic.
I mean,
get kicked in the nuts. You tell the referee no, push him away, and then you knock the dude out.
I think there's an argument to make, and I don't think many would disagree with me, that Pereira is kind of like the face of the UFC right now. Like, in the public sphere, like there's memes of him, you know, like just standing around, like doing random shit. Like I saw a video of him like in some random New Zealand guy's barbershop, and like that's like their meme page, and he was in it. And then like the videos of him just being like Jama, you know, like just like the funny shit, man. Like he's aware of like his online presence, and he's a killer, and he's like a legit champ at the same time.
He's like a little prankster. Fucking I seen him in like an airport, and he like stood this like tube up. And he took like big giant steps back, like almost like he was lining up to kick it or something. And like all these people kept slowing down and watching. And he'd like run up to the tube like he was going to do something. Then he'd slow down right in front of the tube and then like move it a little bit, like an inch. And then he would do it again. And then he'd run up and then he'd slow down, he'd move it and do it again. He like drew this whole crowd. And then he like finally runs up to the tube and he just grabs it and keeps walking. He drew this whole crowd for no reason and just walked away. I'm like, so he's got this, like, it's funny, you're right. He knows, like, his online presence. He knows, like, the stone face. I think it was also super – he pulled me in as a big fan when Jamal Hill started, because I watched all the embeddeds and all the background stuff like I normally do. And that's what's also funny about this card is I normally watch all that, and there hasn't been much of that. And I think it's because of how much of a mess. Like, they don't have as much footage, you know? But when Jamal Hill brought out that, like, stone face, the Stonehenge face, and – was like talking all that shit, and like leading up to that, Jamal Hill was backstage telling him how much he respects him. Can you sign my jacket? You know, bro, I know we're gonna fight tomorrow night, but I love you and this stuff. And then you come out with that at the press conference, and all he said was, "I'll make you remember that. I'll make you remember saying that." And then like just that's what he left it at, bro. And he did his job, and I would like to see him be the first three I'm rooting for him because I'd like to see him be the first 3 division champion. I think that'd be sick.
I'd like to see him go and beat, you know, John Jones or Tom Aspinall, whoever has a belt at the time, and get that triple C.
So at the end of this fight, he he beats this guy. I don't really see anyone else in the division that I mean, arguably he'll probably fight Izzy again, maybe. Izzy's not really interested. I heard his take on it, and he kind of makes sense, in my opinion. Like, he's like, I fight him again, I beat him again, so what? The score is 3-2. Now we got to fight 7 times to discuss, you know what I mean? So it's like, I kind of get the point. Like, he finally got his win back. He's winning all the fights that he had against him and lost every fight. And, like, he was dominating every fight he had with the guy, and he lost. And he's like, now that I won, they want me to fight him again. But in order to make the record true, he's going to have to fight 7 times. That's just ridiculous. So I get that outlook. And the only reason why I'm getting this deep into it, because it's like, who else is going to challenge him? I think if he wins this fight, I think the next step for him is going to be Tom Aspinall and John Jones are going to have to fight, or Alex Pereira is going to have to step in and fight. If John Jones doesn't, who's got the belt right now? Is it John Jones?
Technically, Jones has the heavyweight belt, and Aspinall is defending the interim belt. Which is
it's kind of a mess there, right? So
it's some UFC gotta keep John Jones as the P for P for no reason guy.
Yeah, Dana White is like obsessed with that, but it kind of in my opinion, it forces that fight because if Alex Pereira wins, then he might make the argument he's ready for heavyweight, and that's going to be a huge fight. That would be a huge draw, whether it's Tom Aspinall or John Jones. So it kind of presses the UFC, in my opinion, like, hey, you got to make that fight happen, or you got to let Alex Pereira come in and try for the belt, So
Yep.
It would be like, John Jones, you have to fight, or they'd set it up with Tom Aspinall and make that the belt, So I'm far more interested and invested in Alex Pereira winning. I
agree. I'm a big fan of Yuri. I think he's
right.
I think he has my favorite knockout, like next to that spinning ninja kick one from Roundtree. I think it was Roundtree, right? But I like the I'm talking about. But the knockout, yeah. The knockout that Yuri has over Dominic Reyes is probably my favorite knockout from the previous several years in the UFC. That spinning elbow off the cage against Dominic Reyes, it's beautiful. I mean, just let go of the clinch, give him space, spin the elbow as he's coming off the cage because he has nowhere else to go but straight at you. Boom, knock him right out. It's gorgeous. It's really just the most exciting knockout that you could see at especially at this weight class where most of the time it's like a couple hooks that drop a guy, and something like that is beautiful.
Yeah, and he's like,
so I love Yuri, but I'm probably leaning on Alex. He really seems like the unstoppable force. This is kind of one of those unstoppable force meets an immovable object kind of fights,
Right.
And I think that Yuri Pereira probably still stands in Yuri's way of that belt.
I kind of feel the same way. Like, I kind of feel like if it wasn't for Pereira, Yuri would be Pereira. You know what I mean? I think Yuri doesn't get the respect that he deserves for his talent because Pereira's in his way. So, and I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but I just think this is there's just so much that interesting stuff behind this, you know what I mean? And for them to kind of coincidentally and throw this together, and this is what we got, it's actually got almost everything you want. Good story behind it, good odds. It could go either way. One thing I noticed about Pereira, and tell me if you feel the same, I feel like he absorbs a lot of damage. I feel like his style is to kind of take punches and always looks like he's getting hit and then lands that damn punch. So I don't know if that's just his style is to take hits and trade, or if it's he just made a stone. So what worries me is that he's going to get that fight that breaks that chin, which, I mean, we saw Izzy do it. But I don't know. Yuri can put out a lot of damage. He was starting to get some momentum in that fight, and then he just got caught. And it seems like that a lot. Pereira starts taking damage, and then he lands that shot. So we both know that Yuri's dangerous. I think we're both leaning towards Pereira.
100%. And with you talking about damage as well, both these guys have fought for a long time, not in the UFC. Yuri was with Risen for a long time. Pereira was with Glory for a long time. Both these guys have taken damage and absorbed damage. And there's a 5-year age difference, but Yuri's been in pro MMA longer than Alex has been in pro MMA. So if we're talking damage like MMA related, then Alex has taken a lot less. But Alex's ground game is probably where Yuri could capitalize if Yuri wants to try to win this fight, because Alex has not, really been tested on the ground yet.
Dude, he's got his black belt.
Oh yeah. Sure.
I don't even know if we should get into that or not.
I'm good.
I don't,
Street black belt.
I don't get it, but yeah.
I could go on Amazon right now and buy a black belt too.
Right. Yuri, and this is for the fans here. Alex Pereira, 80% KO TKO rating percentage. Yuri, 87%. So these guys have very high TKO percentage. Significant strikes are like pretty freaking close to each other. Alex Pereira averages 5.1 significant strikes a minute. Yuri averages 5.75 per minute. 62% significant strikes, 56% significant strike rating. I mean, they're pretty close. Actually, surprisingly, Yuri absorbs more per minute, which.
Well, like you were saying, because of his stance, that's probably logical.
Mm-hmm. So, all that being said, and I know we went pretty deep into that, I'm leaning towards Alex Pereira.
I'm with you 100%.
I think he's the truth right now.
Our truth? I think he is 100% the truth. I'm with you as well.
Yeah, I mean, for the listeners, let us know where you disagree or where you do agree. Because I want to know. This was a mess, and I want to know where everyone's head's at and why they think and who they think is going to win. Where we got wrong, where we got right, of course. And, all that being said, I think we have an honorable mention we need to get into. There's a huge event coming to Tampa, Florida. Something you and I just cannot wait for.
So excited.
And there's obviously a huge market for this.
Incredible.
Amalie Arena is about to be packed, and that is Mike Perry versus Jake the Real Deal Paul.
Fight of the century, some say. I've heard.
Oh my gosh!
I've heard many say it. Fight of the century. People love it. People love the fight.
Great guy. Know him personally.
Great hands. Well-sized hands.
I'm honestly excited because I didn't want to see Tyson possibly go down like that, because I think everyone's on the same page. I don't think I've heard very many people talk about the Tyson-Jake Paul fight seriously, just like most of his fights. I don't know how many tickets it was even going to sell or how many people were actually going to want to watch it, but Mike Perry jumping in, how do you see that going?
Well, I mean, I pulled up the Forbes article about it just because I want to see what's up about this. If there's anything that's really random and funny that's being discussed. Okay, here's something that's hilarious to me. This whole time that Jake Paul's been doing the fights, I think his last couple ones, he was like, "I'm gonna put Amanda Serrano in the main event because I want to show that I'm doing this not for me but for boxing." Now he put Amanda Serrano back in the co-main slot in this fight just to really show the scumbagness, and especially of Dazin. I've been a Dazin hater since they really came into the limelight, to be honest, as well. So that's a random poll. We could talk about maybe if we ever do like a boxing one, if there's ever a huge boxing card we want to talk about. But this, in my opinion, is such a weird fight. Like, this is just two guys looking to make money, and I mean that's this whole influencer boxing thing, or Jake Paul, if you want to call him a real boxer now instead of an influencer boxer.
This is where we let it go.
This, that, or the other. Yeah, I think it's silly and obscure. And Mike Perry, what are you doing, bro? That's all I gotta say.
Sorry, I took a drink because I thought there was more to that. Mike Perry, what are you doing? Well, we know Mike Perry's about the check. 100%. Yeah. I don't know if that dude seems like he could be bought.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There's a difference between bare knuckle and boxing. Boxing gloves, you got pillows on your hands. I was explaining this to somebody today that I was training with. Like when you go to block in boxing, you've got gloves to hide behind. When it's bare knuckles, if you hold your hands up like this, there's a lot more. It's a lot easier to hit. So therefore, like when you block, you kind of grab your ear and your shoulder comes up and blocks like this. But there's just like little tiny techniques that add up to make it different style. So I think Mike Perry has the potential of like coming in, swinging for the knockout, and tiring himself out. You know what I mean? Hitting pillows, like doing bag work, basically, you know. I think Jake knows that if he does this, there's a lot more for him to hide behind. I know we're used to watching Mike Perry with these bare knuckle, like awesome violent fights, and the dude's a fucking animal. Obviously that sport's for him. I just wonder, I'm curious about how those gloves affect the fight. You know what I mean? I don't think we're going to be seeing and hearing loud smacks and huge hits and blood and swollen eyes like we're used to. I think there's going to be a lot of hiding behind the gloves. I think Jake Paul knows if he shells up and throws a hook at the right time, he could possibly catch him. I don't see Jake Paul doing an influencer boxing event that he can't win. You know, not again. You know,
he already got his one loss, and he's like, you know, look. The funniest thing in this whole situation to me is that Jake Paul will never beat the I fight old retired MMA guys allegations.
All he has to do is not do that, right?
Yeah, it's for real. Like that's
all you got to do. At this point, he's got to be able to step in on a card. You know, Mayweather boxing card, something like that. I mean, go to Money Mayweather, be like, hey, bro, we make money. Put me on a card. I'll bring in eyes. We know it's possible. It's
right.
And I almost didn't want to talk about it because I'd hope it disappear, but it never does. So we might as well talk about it. So, you know, at least we can, I don't know, rub off the attention. I don't know. But like, I'm not even going to pick a winner because I don't think their wallets are evidently their wallets. I've heard a lot of allegations that they don't even make that much money. Like that the pay-per-view buys and all that stuff is inflated, that, you know.
I've also heard that.
So I'm over here kind of hating, but it's just funny because it ended up in our backyard over here in Tampa, Florida. Initially I was going to buy tickets, and then I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Like, I'm going to actually leave my house, pay for parking, $18 hot dogs, and
$17 beer.
Yeah. And so on this fight, you know, everyone wants to see Mike Perry whoop his ass. I think everyone's going to expect Mike Perry to be Mike Perry. He's going to be able to take punches and swing for the fences and catch them. But I also think that I think Jake Paul might be way more than him too. I think Jake Paul put on a lot of weight for Mike Tyson. So I brought this up because I want to see what the viewers think. Let's stir it up, guys. Let's just see. Let's get the conversation going. Is fake Paul setting himself up to win, or is Mike Perry out here for a payday? Who's gonna win? Just let me know. What is the opinion? Or if it's even fuck this. Don't bring it up again. Let me know too. Man, what are we doing, Jackson?
We're going to see Jake Paul and Mike Perry. Yeah.
Whoa, shit. Any other MMA news today that we can water down?
We can water down. No, I don't think so. I think we have added enough nonsensical information to the rest of these fights. With Alex Pereira for both of us on our choice, Diego Lopez for both of us, Anthony Smith for both of us, Mayra Silva, we split.
So that's the decision maker right there.
That is the decision maker, because then we also both went for Page on the IMG versus MVP, you know. So let's see, man.
Before we hang up, Cub Swanson or Andre Fili, who do you get?
I got Cub.
Okay, I'll take Andre.
I thought you wanted Cub.
I did want Cub.
Oh, you want to split?
Yeah, I was letting you.
Okay, I'll take Andre Fili just because I know you're a Cub guy, so I got you.
I'll take Cub.
I'll take Fili. I'll cop a Fili for you, and yeah.
Because I just don't want the second main card fight of the night to decide who wins or loses this. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
So, I guess either way it's going to do it. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for doing this, Jackson. Training tomorrow?
Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow.
Cool.
I finally have a Sunday off, so let's go.
Let's get them promo videos in.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you. Peace.
Oh.